Ms. LeBlanc, you have the invocation.
I'd like to take a moment to think of two things. Last Tuesday, the students of Enfield started school. I'm wishing them a safe and healthy and happy school year. Also, Sunday was September 11th, a day I know I will never forget and none of us will forget. I'd like to take a moment and pray for the soldiers who fight for our peace and freedom. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
In the event of an emergency or a fire, the emergency exits are to the rear of the chamber. They're also out down to my left, downstairs out into the parking lot. Kathy, could I have a roll call, please?
Mrs. LeBlanc?
Here.
Mr. Neville?
Here.
Mrs. Thurston? Mr. Grady? Mr. Cruzel?
Here.
Mr. Peabody?
Present.
Mrs. Ungary?
Here.
Mr. Ludwig?
Here.
Chairman Serard?
Here. Board guests, Dr. Schumann.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Tonight we have Principal Sargalski from JFK Middle School here to support our Enfield Teacher of the Year, Dave Gurton, who is a science teacher at JFK, and I know that you have a gift for him, and he is also here to answer any questions. So why don't we have him come up and answer some questions, then we'll take a photo op after that.
Thank you. Much appreciated.
Gentlemen, ladies.
First of all, congratulations. I know the hard work that you do and the creative work that you do with kids and how much you love kids. So it couldn't happen to a nicer or more qualified person to represent Enfield. So thanks for everything, David.
Well, thank you.
I just want to say congratulations. I know we have mutual friends, and I've heard so many accolades your way. So congratulations. Thanks for all the hard work that you do. They don't just give that away. You have to earn it. So thank you.
Peabody?
Yeah, when I saw Toy on the agenda, I was saying, huh? And then I remembered it was Teacher of the Year, and I think you do a fantastic job, and we appreciate the good work that you do, especially in the sciences. That's the fields where we need professionals later on in life, and thank you for what you do.
Thank you.
Mr. Cruzel?
Just one word, ditto, for what they said.
Ms. Ludwig?
My daughters had your wife, by the way, when they were younger, so, yeah.
Yes.
Congratulations. I know it runs in your family, and again, it's another great example of all the good things going on in JFK. So congratulations.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Congratulations. I know it's a lot of hard work, especially in the middle schools. I got to give you credit for doing such a wonderful job. And on behalf of the entire Board of Education, good job. And you made us all look good. So.
Perhaps if you want to share anything with the board, or if you want to just briefly tell them about the process you went through to get here tonight.
Sure. The Teacher of the Year nomination process starts with a colleague, another teacher, nominating someone that they know. In my case, it was a teacher on my team, a certain Mr. Ungary, who nominated me, which is fantastic. Thank you. And he wrote the most amazing letter, just a beaming. He used all of the big words that made me look really nice. It was excellent just to be able to read that. So after nomination, there's the committee that invites all of the teachers that were nominated to be interviewed through a series of questions and a selection process. And then shortly after, they reveal who the Enfield Teacher of the Year was. And lucky for me, it was me. It was me this year. I was nominated once before, but I know there are lots of possible nominations. And yeah, this was my time. And I feel really happy, vindicated, honored to be able to represent all of my colleagues, especially those at JFK, because, I mean, the people I work with are amazing, really. I mean, I'm one part of the system that makes me really proud to be able to provide the kinds of lessons and the awesome experiences that we have for these kids day in and day out. And it doesn't stop here. There's only more forthcoming. I was just talking with Mr. Sarg about possible things to do in the future to just really boost what we can do in the classroom, and I just get excited about, talking about this stuff. It's great, and I think my enthusiasm and the enthusiasm of other teachers are conveyed easily to the kids, and when they get excited and they know like you're in it, then it makes things so much easier, but so much better as well. It's amazing. The kinds of experiences I have every day with the kids are second to none. I mean, they're amazing. The kids are amazing, but it's really, really great experience. So, I mean, thank you for the recognition. This is really wonderful. Cool. Great. Where would you like?
Right in front of the board.
You want to do it?
No, I'll just stand next to you.
I'm not good at this.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Oh, we have one more, yeah, so.
We're tweeting. Get it?
I like representing science. I do, I really do. Is there... more? Sit back down. This is my first time doing this. I don't know. More?
Yeah, I just have a, when is the big assembly that they have, it was down, and it was in Central, or is that coming up, or?
Yeah, I marked it on the calendar. It's sometime in October or November. I actually just told my wife about it today, and she asked me what day it was. I forgot, but I marked it on the calendar. It's coming up to recognize all the Teachers of the Year for the state.
I don't think these folks understand the process you had to go through to get to that in the
Right.
the
So
writing
also-
that you've had to do in the presentations.
So over the summer, there is an online application process for Connecticut Teacher of the Year, and then one is selected to represent all of Connecticut, and that goes forth to the national level. And there was a series of 10 questions that I needed to respond to, mostly essay style, along with some paperwork and formats, and that was due August 3rd. So I was running around a little bit trying to get some signatures and getting that done and submitted. And it was just a couple days ago, I logged into the application process, and they released the names of the semifinalists, the finalists, and the Connecticut Teacher of the Year, which was awfully quick.
Really?
Yes. My name was not on that list, I'm sorry.
Should have been.
I know, I would have loved to say, and I'm on the list, but no, I'm sorry. Yeah, and I just found that out too, so.
It's an honor to be there. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, I don't feel bad at all. I'm still just amazed that it is great. It's great to be recognized.
we couldn't be represented by anybody any better, and you know, selfishly, I think, coming from the middle school, where I think the action is anyway, I think, you know, I think it's important to have somebody represent that particular group of kids and teachers.
I love representing JFK too. It felt good to have it from JFK.
You were here earlier with the accreditation too, so obviously that
Yes.
played
Right.
in. So that's great. I mean, that's the other thing. All the work that you folks did to make sure we were fully accredited, which I know, goes beyond what you do as a teacher. So it's good stuff. Congratulations. Yeah.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Great.
Thanks.
Superintendent's report.
Thank you,
Dr.
Mr.
Schimmer.
Chairman. In your packet, there's a memo with 3 items. The open house nights, you'll probably see your calendar filling up. I know Mrs. Alecky's been sending all the open house nights to you. A special one this year, September 28th, will be the open house and grand opening of the Stowe Early Learning Center. And all of the programs will be present, the FRC, KITE, ECDC, the Integrated Preschool, and the STEAM Preschool Academy. So they'll all be there. We'll start in the gymnasium and then get a chance to tour the whole building. Family Day is this Sunday. The weather is looking a bit iffy. We're exploring the possibility of moving it to Fermi. We'll make sure we let you know if that happens or not. And then the Rachel's Challenge program again this year during the week of September 19th. There will be various activities taking place throughout the schools and during the evening. So if you can attend some of those, we'd like to see you there. And that's what I have for you today.
Thank you, Dr. Schuman. Board audiences, do we have anyone? Board member comments? Ms. LeBlanc?
Just a couple things. There's a Safe Grad meeting tomorrow night at 6:30 at Enfield High School for all senior parents if they'd like to attend. Secondly, I was able to attend both the girls soccer game and the Enfield High football game last year with the new mascot, the Eagle. It was nice to see so many people in the community out at the high school last Friday night. It was great atmosphere. There seems to be a buzz around the new high school, and I was in there Thursday night as well for team dinner for football, and it's nice to see, without the risk of sounding corny, a dream come to a reality. So that's all I have.
Thank you, Ms. LeBlanc. Mr. Neville?
Ditto on the high school. I mean, I think we can all step back after all the work that's gone on for the last 5, 6, I've lost track. It was one of the few things I think all of us, all the bodies were unanimous in voting for, something we all saw the need for. I think for a while there we were a little worried that it would get through in the form that it did, but it did, and it's exceptional. And I think it's something, that I tell everybody I meet. They say, "How's it going?" I say, "It's something that you will absolutely be proud of as you you go through it, and you know what it represents about this town and what we think about education for our kids." So I think it's the beginning of something grand that we want to have go on in Enfield, and I think people will come here because of that. I think people will look at the education here and see what we're talking about and say, "Hey, this is a world-class education. Look how they're treating it. They're walking the talk. They're not, and I think that's what's good." And I'll leave it at that.
Thank you, Mr. Neville. Ms. Thurston?
I just want to welcome the students back, and I wish them a successful year. And also, Family Day is Sunday from what time? 11 to, what time is it? Like 11 to 4? So we'll be there, and it's a fun time, so that's about it.
Thank you, Ms. Thurston. Mr. Cruzel?
Again, kudos to the high school. Few of us were present for opening day. We handed out T-shirts to all the student body and to the staff. And I also attended a kite meeting last Wednesday. Anyone interested in that program? It's an excellent program, and they're always looking for volunteers. And then I also attended the First Readers. They're going to have a ceremony coming up, I believe, in November. We'll get you the date here. And again, they're also looking for volunteers, so if anybody could help out, that would be greatly appreciated.
Thank you, Mr. Cruzel. Mr. Peabody?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First of all, welcome back, students, and I'm hoping that they have a great new year, along with our teachers and staff that support them. I did get to the high school, went through the tour week before, and one comment I want to make about the block schedule. I had a parent come up to me and talk to me about an issue she had with her child, and he was behind and wasn't going to be able to graduate with his class, but because of the block scheduling and the extra opportunities, he now has an opportunity to do a little extra work and graduate with his class. So I think that's a huge potential success, providing that it happens, and that's facilitated by the new schedule. There are people out there questioning the schedule, but I don't think they quite understand there's more offerings to the students. I had also got to a couple PTO meetings this week, and in the process of talking to some of the PTO folks, they're looking for some help, and they're looking for one person put out a request for high school students to come and help with childcare. Didn't get any responses, so I went to talk to Mr. Longi and asked him if the National Honor Society was looking for service hours, and before I could finish asking the question, he thought it'd be a great idea. He understood childcare. He said, "What about events?" And I said, "Absolutely." So we're getting the word out to the PTOs that there is a possibility for get volunteers for them. And to me, that's one of the things that it's like a cornerstone of making our schools the center point of our communities, which I really have always believed that they should be. Let's see. I did hit the football game, and I think a good word, like Mrs. LeBlanc or Tina had said, is it was electric. it was just a fantastic thing to go to and watch, and there's a ton of people there, and it was just a community coming together, and that's sometimes what high school sports does for our community. And that's really what I have for today.
Thank you, Mr. Peabody. Ms. Ungary.
I wanted to wish all the students a great year. We had a great start. I attended the freshman orientation. It was really well attended, good turnout. Several of us were there the first day of school at Enfield High, and we handed out T-shirts to the students, and I attended all the assemblies that they had there. And Mr. Longy does a great job. He addressed each class individually with special things that pertain just to them, and he's just great. He did a great job. The football game was wonderful. What a turnout. And the team just played really, really hard, and lots of people there, and saw the new mascot, the Eagle, and I think they're still trying to get a name for him. They don't have that yet. Mr. Longy said they're working on it, so anybody can submit suggestions. And Monday, the 19th of September, we're going to give T-shirts out at JFK, so if anybody wants to come, they're invited. It's at 8 o'clock, JFK. Okay, and that's it.
Thank you, Ms. Ungary. Mr. Ludwig.
I have 3 quick things. I know we're working on a date. We're going to have one more jersey sale, and hopefully with that final jersey sale, we will have old football jerseys as well. I know we're working on a date for everyone. We'll have more to come shortly. So I think we'll have one more, which will hopefully help us raise some money for the grand opening of the whole high school back in the winter. So that, more to come. Second thing, again, I want to recognize really all the kids in town. I mean, I know a lot of kids, especially like band kids, all the football players, all the other sports. I mean, people don't realize how hard these kids have been working since the beginning of August and probably all summer long. And it's really great to see all the kids who are participating, who are involved. And I know a lot of them have worked, and of course the coaches and the volunteers. You know, again, like I said, when we were watching some of the practices in the summer, all those band kids were out there, all 100 of them standing in a line, sweating like crazy. So again, I think folks, the kids are working hard, you know, and I mean, it's great to see. And I think this is kind of just a heads up, but as we talk about later, as we start rolling out some of the budget things, since it's early in the year, again, we really, hopefully, are going to be able to emphasize or reward or whatever word you want to use, again, presenteeism. We want to bring it back as how important it is for students, for parents, for teachers, for administrators, for everyone to be present. And we're hopefully going to be able to roll, you know, some ideas around that, how we're going to reward that out. Again, I know Tim and I are working on some things, and again, just want to emphasize as we start school, how important it is we want to recognize people who show up and show up all the time. So again, that's something that'll be coming down the line. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Ludwig. Well, to everyone in the school system, welcome back. I hope you enjoyed your summer. I want to say congratulations to everyone who made opening day as awesome as possible. Some notables are obviously Dr. Schumann and his team with Mr. Drezik for working with Mr. Longy and his team for making the opening day of the new building as uneventful as we possibly could. You guys deserve a lot of respect and a lot of credit for all the hard work. I know you've been working very, very hard on it. I'm very proud, and I think I speak for a lot of the members up here that have been enduring the process of getting this gem of a building open. It's been, I agree with Mr. Neville, this is kind of a dream that's come true. And to see it finally opening up and as well as it came out, I'm very grateful for everyone, including and everyone's support. Every board member and every council person over the past 8 years who's been working on this and has believed in this, kudos to you guys. I know there were some issues that were, it was tough to stand sometimes, and it was tough to stand up for it, but I think this is really the cherry on top of the cake. Mr. Daigle and his team, kudos to you guys too. I know you worked incredibly hard to make sure that the building was ready. Many conversations, many phone calls, many emails, staying on top of things. The building committee did a wonderful job, and you guys truly need to be commended. 3 years ago, when those of us that were on the board 3 years ago, we came up with a motto, and that was being on the same page. I honestly feel we're getting there. Most of us are now on the same page when it comes to education here in Enfield. At least all of the vital players that are there, most of the town, I think, is there as well. We've come a long way from 8 years ago, and we've just some other pieces that need to fall into place, and we'll be just fine. And I think everybody involved in that process, congratulations to you all, because it's been a blessing most of the time, challenging on other times, but I think we've done a wonderful job, and we all deserve to be proud for that. On some business end things, just so that everyone knows, first, it's a quick comment. There's been a lot of conversation about the Eagle Hour. You got to give it some time. It will work itself out. This is trusting our kids in the high school level to be a little bit more responsible for themselves, and I think it's going to work themselves out just fine. It's worked in other school districts who have tried it. We've got everyone working on it to make sure that it helps, it works out the way it's supposed to. I think overall it went as well as it could, but it will, over time, work itself out. Just give it a shot. And board business, over the past couple of weeks, because this is directly related to the high school, there's been an issue about the traffic light. So I talked to my leadership, and I've asked Mr. Peabody to be the point man on that. I've appointed him as the chairman. I've appointed him to deal with this traffic light stuff. Mr. Peabody, I think, is uniquely talented to be able to find and solve those problems. He's detail-oriented, and I think he's the guy out of all of us here that can handle that. So in the future, just know Mr. Peabody's the traffic light guy. Congratulations again, and I'm looking forward to a really positive school year. Unfinished business, transition update, Dr. Schumann.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As many of you have noted, the building opened with great success this past week, and things are running very nicely from everybody we've talked to. As we start with any school year, we get settled in, and then we take right off, and things are happening perfectly. We looked at the transition list, which seemed daunting not too long ago. There are only 5 items left, one of which and several of which we know are still upcoming in the completion of the last part of the renovation. We have no reason to believe from working with Gilbane and folks that will not come through on time. It's looking great over there. We've taken a couple tours of it. It looks like it's really coming along. Nothing seems to be holding that up. We should be on target for that. We're hopefully going to get the entire campus available to us by November 1st, all the paving done, and so some of the parking issues will become less of a problem, although Mr. Longi tells me there are still 50 parking places available for students that students haven't come and asked for yet. So that has not been an issue at this point. In terms of traffic, on the first day of school, it took 6 minutes and 27 seconds to get all of the buses off campus. And at 11 minutes and 2 seconds, all of the student cars were off campus. I was up on Route 5 timing it with the police officers, and it worked very smoothly. It is a little bit, congested. There's a lot of people moving around, but within 11 minutes, it was calm. So it's going to be that way. It's going to be that way at every high school across the country. When you let 1,500 students out on a split second, and they all start heading in their different directions, it's going to be congested for 15 minutes, and then it's going to calm down. But the staff is handling it fine, the students are handling it fine. We will use a variety of metrics over the next several months to determine how well we're doing. Tonight I want to share with you a quantitative metric and a qualitative metric that we've already gotten. First is our enrollment. The high school is plus 33 students from the projected enrollment that we got last year when you had the demographer work with you. So we're up 33 students from what we expected. To follow through that, the middle school is up 8 students. 3-5 schools are exactly on. The K-2 schools are up 8 students, and the pre-K is up 7 students. So the district is up 56 students over what Mr. Prada projected for us last spring. So that's good news. That's a sign that we are doing the right thing. Second thing is an email I'd like to read to you. We received, Mr. Longi actually received the email this afternoon, and I'm going to read it to you. I think you'll be proud of what you hear. It goes like this. Dear Principal Longi, this past Friday night, I was in the stands at your school to watch your football team play Southington High School, my son's team. I watched a larger, more experienced team defeat a smaller, less experienced team on the scoreboard. What I never saw, however, was the defeated team get chippy, throw cheap shots, bow their heads, drag their feet, trash talk, or give up. Your team earned and deserves all the respect in the world for the exemplary character they displayed. I am a retired military veteran, and I firmly believe that followers emulate their leaders. Your head coach has instilled in his team the very best character traits that we hope our sons learn from playing football, and I commend him and his staff for an excellent job. I have no idea how your season will unfold, but I have no doubt that every young man on the roster will leave knowing a little more about resiliency, courage, and toughness, traits that a lot of adults could use more of. It is my hope that you will see fit to share this with your coach and team, and especially all of the players, so that they know what they did and the way they did it matters, and it was noticed. I wish the Enfield Eagles the best of luck, success on the scoreboard, and a brilliant future. Best regards, and signed, Mr. Gunderson, a parent of a student from Southington High School. So we congratulate Principal Longy, Coach Liver and his staff, and especially our student athletes for the way they represented Enfield High School and our community in a most admirable fashion last Friday night. So we're on the right track.
Mr. Ludwig?
I know this, I think, is being addressed, but at some point, though, we'll be able to have, for visitors, is that going to be the stands on the other side at some point? I know that was talked about as we're moving up with playing bigger schools, they're going to be bringing more fans. And I know the second thing, too, is there a way to make sure that if someone parks up top, a senior, that we have, make sure that they can have the golf cart or someone golf cart them down? I know that I heard some complaints from some parents that, that they'd like to be able, if we have a golf cart, can we bring the people down, knowing, that's a pretty steep walk for someone. And so go ahead, yep.
Well, regarding the bleachers, we did ask Gil Bain to contact Silver Petroselli and see what it would be involved in putting a set of bleachers on the visitor side. And they're working on that, and they should have something back for the building committee to talk about, and then they'll have to decide if it's something they want to go forward with.
Yep.
Regarding the parking, that's going to be an issue until we can get all the parking lots back for us. We will work with the building administration and see if they can't provide some kind of a shuttle service.
And just as an aside, sorry, to that letter, it's funny, we were watching the game, and at one point, one of the opposing players high-stepped into the end zone, and if anyone plays sports, they understand what that means. And I can't remember, I think it was number 9. I don't remember the young man's name. No, he was pursuing the kid, running hard, held up in the end zone, and basically just stopped. Be honest with you, if I was playing, I'm not sure I could have held up and stopped. And so again, to that letter, actually, it's funny. There's a bunch of parents who were standing around. I didn't know who they were, and I basically said, hey, got to give that kid credit, because I think every one of us said the same thing. I'm not sure I could have pulled up, playing the game of football. So I personally saw some of what you just said, and I'm sure folks who were there saw the same thing. Again, it was number 9. I apologize, I don't know his name, but that was actually one particular event where, again, things weren't going our way to the point of the letter. So, again, good stuff.
Ms. LeMang?
Number 9 is Mike Tweedley. Yep. His dad played for. I just wanted to say in response to that email, so the stands were pretty stacked, and we were very close to the Southington folks where I happened to be sitting there, and in the same respect, Southington came here knowing what they were going to be playing, a brand new team that just entered into a large division, smaller in comparison to what they brought. And sometimes you have fans that know, because Southington it was announced this week that they're one of the top 5 teams in the state of Connecticut right now. Sometimes the fans don't always portray as much sportsmanship as the kids do on the field. And some of the parents were saying how great it was just sitting next to the Southington people, because they didn't make it a big deal either. And, they were not rude in any way. So on their part too, that it was not only our students and the Southington students, but it was the Southington fans that were enjoyable to sit next to at the game.
Anyone else? New business, approve fiscal year 2016 and 2017 student representatives and alternatives. Is that that's the policy change?
So I think folks, I'm sorry, go ahead. If last meeting we waived the second reading to, again, obviously we have one high school, so the only difference was now we have 2 representatives from Enfield High. And so here tonight, it sounds like we have two very qualified representatives, and I will read the letter here. So, per Board of Education Policy 9160, student representatives and alternatives will be appointed to the board in a non-voting capacity and will attend all Board of Education meetings. Enclosed in our packet is the board policy that explains their duties and responsibilities. Assuming you folks can read that on your own. Student representative alternatives will need to attend an orientation session prior to attending the next board meeting. Principal Andy Longy is recommending the following students for the 2016-17 student representative and alternatives. So for the student representatives, we have Abigail Bosco, grade 12, Megan Connor, grade 11. The alternatives will be, and I apologize up front if I ruin anyone's name, Sierra Centrella, I apologize if I ruin a name, and Sarah Passmore, both one grade 12, one grade 11. Therefore, the Board of Education may take action deemed appropriate regarding approving the 2016-17 student representatives and alternatives.
Do we have a motion
So
to
moved.
accept?
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Neville, seconded by Mr. Cruzel. Any discussion?
The only thing I will say is that Abigail Bosco has been before us, I think, since I've been on this board a number of times, and has spoke way beyond her years. I'm proud that she got represented because obviously she has shown that she has some political aspect to her. So this is great.
All right, roll call, please.
Mrs. LeBlanc,
Yes.
Mr. Neville,
Yes.
Mrs. Thurston, Mr. Crizell,
4.
Mr. Peabody,
Affirmative.
Mrs. Ungary,
Yes.
Mr. Ludwig,
4.
Chairman Sirard.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Congratulations to
Congratulations.
all of you, and we look forward to your training sessions. 11B will be held after the executive session. Board committee reports, building committee. Mr. Cruzel or Mr. Neville? Mr. Cruzel?
Just continuation of what Dr. Schuman said, was at 2 meetings since we are meeting now in the conference room right in the main office. So we have a nice little room there. And drove through there today, actually, saw some of the new parking lots being marked off and concrete being put in, and it's just coming along. It's just every day it's more and more, and we're getting close. And I also found out that we are the only school under budget and on time in the state. The other school dropped out, so we are the only school in the state under budget and on time. So,
Awesome.
and that's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Cruzel. Mr. Peabody, do you have a committee report to report?
On the light? Yeah.
Go ahead.
Regarding the traffic light, Tom had contacted me, and what I did was I called the Commissioner of Transportation. I called their office, and he didn't answer the call, but I ended up receiving a call from the head traffic engineer, and we had about a 30-minute conversation. And how it works is they follow Federal Highway Administration guidelines. And that means that there's traffic counts that need to be done. And when they did the count, the first times, they were under what federal guidelines are. So the state would not write what they call a warrant for the traffic light. He gave some suggestions to me, and I passed them on to Randy Daigle. And Randy's going to follow through with them and do other counts, and possibly even get a video of the situation there because the traffic is congested. I have a colleague that sits behind me, and they got stuck for about 15 minutes going southbound, and the northbound traffic was past Our Lady of the Angels Academy and South Road. It also has an effect on South Road because people were going through the lights sitting there, and people from South Road couldn't get southbound on Route 5. So not only that, but the gentleman I spoke with is willing to do the calculations himself. So we have to provide the counts, he'll do the calculations, then he'll write the warrants. Sounds like it's a positive thing, sounds like he's sincere, so we'll see what happens. So stay tuned, and we'll let you know.
Mr. Neville?
Just as a piece of information, when they did the counts with the old numbers of kids, the 700 or 700, whatever we had there, and the traffic that dealt with. And they don't take, if you extrapolate the numbers up to the next level, they won't take those numbers. You have to get the actual counts. So if we do counts now, we'll have real numbers and if we take video and stuff of the problem, we may do better. I hope he can do the warrants because we ran into a great deal of resistance. We talked to state folks, we talked to the town engineers and the police, and we also talked to our legislators. I'm pleased that you will be hammering on their doors and keeping the question alive until we get a definitive answer.
That's what I said. I said the guy, he agreed to do it to get off the phone with you.
Yeah,
To get off
exactly.
the phone with you. That's why you're the
Precisely.
perfect person for the job.
Thanks. The other thing I wanted to mention is I appreciate the confidence, Tina.
You'll get it done.
You're right, I will.
Remember, some things are better left unsaid.
Thank you. The part of the thing, too, that Tim, you reminded me of, thank you, is they don't give warrants on projections, only real numbers. And so that's the reason why, one of the reasons why it was turned down to begin with.
All right, Mr. Ludwig?
Sorry, Ray, again, I think you are great for this. Question for you. I don't know if this has been looked at. To your point on the backed up traffic, and I think Tom just enlightened me. That's an EMT building right there, right? So has that been looked at through any of these studies with that backed up traffic? If there is a call, I know it's tough for those folks to get out of there now if it's backed up as far as it was the first few days. I'm not saying I haven't seen it, but I don't know if that's something we looked at too. If those folks can't get out there as an emergency, with all the traffic being backed up.
Yeah, they put a brush bar in front of the ambulances to get people out of the way. No. That was in the conversation. Also, the fact that you have a light at South Road and Route 5, so those will have to be synchronized for when the lights are deployed.
Very good. Anything else? Any other committee reports? Great. Approval of minutes, regular meeting minutes of August 23rd, 2016.
So moved.
Motion made by Mr. Cruzell, seconded by Ms. Ungary. Any discussion, alterations, or changes? Show of hands. Approved. Yeah, you got an abstention. We have one abstention, Mr. Peabody. Approval of accounts and payroll? Nope.
None.
Correspondence and communications?
None.
Audiences? Do I have a motion to go into executive session?
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Neville, seconded by Ms. Ungary. Any discussion? We're currently in executive session. Thank you.
Can we do it here? Right, because
I make the motion to approve the contract extension between the Board of Education and the Enfield Teachers Association. Seconded by Ms. Ungary. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mrs. LeBlanc?
Yes.
Mr. Neville?
Yes.
Mrs. Thurston? Is Vinnie on the phone? Mr. Grady?
4.
Mr. Kruzel?
4.
Mr. Peabody?
Affirmative.
Mrs. Ungary?
Yes.
Mr. Ludwig?
4.
Chairman Gerard?
4.
Motion passes.
Outstanding.
You want to give it to Vinnie?
Oh, sorry, Vinny, go.
Vinny, you want to make the motion to adjourn?
No.
No?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion made
Second.
by Ms. Thurston, seconded by Mr. Kruzel. All in favor? We are adjourned.
Nice job.
Do we have to stay for leadership?
Yes, it's going to be a quick one.